In the early 20th century, colonial powers introduced Western-style schools in occupied territories, marking the first step of cultural domination. These institutions, often grand in architecture, stood in stark contrast to traditional local schools, symbolizing the imposition of foreign values under the guise of modernization and progress. The colonial curriculum systematically replaced local history and languages with the colonizers' narratives. Textbooks glorified the empire while erasing indigenous heritage, creating a generation disconnected from its own past. Language policies forbade native tongues in classrooms, forcing students to adopt the colonizer's speech. Colonial authorities trained local educators to become conduits of imperial ideology. These teachers, often under pressure, disseminated propaganda that portrayed the colonizers as benevolent rulers. The classroom became a space where loyalty to the empire was cultivated through carefully designed lessons and rituals. Elders and scholars recognized the threat posed by colonial education. They established clandestine schools to preserve native knowledge, teaching history and values banned by the colonizers. These underground institutions became hubs of cultural resistance, keeping alive the spirit of independence. Wealthy families, seeking social advancement, eagerly enrolled their children in colonial schools. These privileged students mastered the colonizers' language and customs, becoming intermediaries between the empire and local population. Their success stories were used to promote the colonial education system's benefits. The colonizers' language became the sole medium of instruction and administration. Students faced harsh punishments for speaking their mother tongue, creating psychological barriers between generations. This linguistic imperialism ensured that future leaders would think and communicate in the colonizers' terms. Colonial textbooks presented a distorted version of history, portraying conquest as civilization and resistance as rebellion. Local heroes were vilified while imperial figures were glorified. Students memorized these false narratives, internalizing a worldview that justified foreign domination. Once colonial education had softened resistance, military forces moved in to solidify control. The same students who had learned imperial propaganda in classrooms now saw soldiers enforcing it on streets. Schools had created a population more receptive to foreign rule, making violent suppression less necessary. A profound gap emerged between those educated under colonial systems and elders who maintained traditional knowledge. Family meals became battlegrounds of values, with grandparents lamenting lost heritage while grandchildren defended their colonial-era education. This divide weakened social cohesion for generations. Even after independence, former colonies struggled with the psychological impacts of colonial education. The prestige of the colonizers' language and systems persisted, while local knowledge remained marginalized. This episode challenges us to consider, when does true decolonization occur if minds remain colonized?